So without any further ado, let me hand the virtual stage over to our first speakers. We're so pleased to have NASA Associate Administrator Bob Cabana, and Bob's joined with by our NASA Aeronautics Assistant Deputy AA for Programs, Barb Esker. They're going to kick us off to examine how NASA discovers, advances, and catalyzes innovative technologies and inspires our future leader. Bob and Barb, over to you.
Thank you, John.
All right. Well, thanks.
I really appreciate the introduction, John, and welcome, Bob. Nice to see you again.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Barb. I think this is really special, being able to kick off imaginAviation with you. NASA does so much to discover, catalyze, and innovate when it comes to aviation.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be part of this opening with you as well. So, you picked up on the three key words, that John used: discover, advance, and catalyze. And I think those are so incredibly important and incredibly appropriate for this event. They apply to not only the technological advances that NASA is working with our partners, but also this vision for the workforce of the future. It's important that they're engaged in discovering, advancing, and catalyzing. We're going to need their talents to bring these solutions forward in the future. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think aviation, aviation's been my whole life. That's all I ever wanted to do since I was 5 years old, was be a pilot and fly. And I had the pleasure of doing that, the privilege of doing that in the Marine Corps and as a test pilot and at NASA. But, for a lot of folks, when they think of aviation, they think of the airplanes that we fly in across the country, the transportation that's so critical to our infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And single aisle aircraft, that's like, the future. For our nation. That's where most of it goes, and we want to make that as sustainable and efficient as possible, and it's huge for our gross national product also. So what are we doing in that area, Barb? What kind of sustainable technologies are we looking at for transport aviation?
Right. I mean, you're absolutely right. The single aisle transports are the backbone of our aviation system. So, to address this very large market segment that's very important both here in this country and around the world, we've initiated an effort that we call the Sustainable Flight National Partnership. This effort is a collection of several projects that are going on within NASA and with supporting the overall 2021 U.S. Aviation Climate Action Plan, which is a whole of government approach to try to reduce net greenhouse gases by 50% by 2050. So it's a large collective effort, hand in hand with our FAA friends, as well as those folks in industry and in academia. Specific to these single aisle aircraft, we're targeting a 30% efficiency improvement for those aircraft that could potentially enter market as early as 2035. So, and as you pointed out, Bob, these it's a really important class of aircraft because they're the largest contributor, to emissions because of the frequency with which they fly and the number of the aircraft that are out there. And for imaginAviation attendees, we'll be focusing on this effort on day 3 of the event. So I hope folks come back, to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely, Barbara. I think something else to point out, the sustainable flight demonstrator that we're building, we're doing this in partnership with industry. It's not just NASA going out and doing this and building all these X-planes and stuff. We're actually partnering with Boeing on the sustainable flight demonstrator, and it's, they're putting a lot of their own money into this. So it's a real partnership as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Sustainable Flight Demonstrator, we just had the opportunity to announce that back in January, as you recall, and that was very, very exciting with our partners. That particular vehicle is, looks different, right? It's got very long, slender wings that are supported by a truss underneath for strength and performance. And that demonstrator that is hoping to show about a 9% efficiency improvement coming just from the shape of the aircraft, just from the configuration of the airframe itself. And 9% is pretty significant. And as you said, Bob, we're working at it collaboratively with Boeing. It is they've got a lot of interest in seeing success there.
What about electric airplanes, hybrid airplanes, electrified powertrains and stuff? What are we doing in that area?
Well, we're doing a lot actually. The hybrid electric system consists of basically two parts. There's a part that is, the gas turbine, and there's a part that takes advantage of the opportunities with electrical power. So, in the gas turbine end, we have a project called High Tech. That project is going after up to 10% improvement in just the engine core itself. Those are gas turbines that can be improved through increasing their thermal efficiency. Then the other side of that same coin is the electrified powertrain flight demonstration. And this is where we're looking at what potential capabilities exist in marrying both, the advantages of electrical power with the gas turbine engine system, as you see on the screen. So it's two sides of the same coin, and we'll take advantage of those as that aircraft executes its flight path.
Really cool, Barb.
It is cool.
So, I got to talk about something else NASA's doing. It's no secret that I like to go fast. And, we've got a really cool project. It's the X-59. It's an X-plane, and it's Quest, Quiet Supersonic Technology. And this is an X-plane that's being built by Lockheed Martin out in their skunk works out in Palmdale, California. And it's going to demonstrate a low sonic boom capability. I think we got a slide. We can actually get a picture of this up. This airplane, when it flies, it's not going to be a supersonic transport. What it's going to do is going to show that we have technologies that we can build an airplane that has a low sonic boom. One of the problems with going supersonic across the continent is people don't like those sonic booms. They complain about the noise. They can be damaging depending on how they're done. And we want to create a design that has a low sonic thud, if you will, like somebody slamming a car door in your neighborhood, not anything that is annoying or would cause problems. So this design, the way it's built, it's smooth on the bottom and it has all the rough areas up on top that when it goes supersonic, creates a problem. I liken it to a diver. When you watch diving competitions, if the diver's not very good, there's a huge splash in the water. But when he does it exactly right, he goes through the water just perfectly smooth and there's hardly a ripple. And so we're designing the X-59 to do that going through the air so that when it impacts the air going supersonic, it doesn't create these big shock waves, but it's much smoother and quieter. I had a chance to fly the simulator when I was out at NASA Armstrong, and it was so much fun. I'm a test pilot at heart, and being able to evaluate it in the approach and landing phase was really cool. But we're going to start flying this airplane, and we'll take it out over different areas of the country and gather data on the noise that it makes. And I think this is going to be really cool. And I think we're going to hear more about it during the conference, aren't we, Barb?
That's my understanding, yes. In fact, we'll have a chance to talk to one of the test pilots that will be flying that X-59. And certainly, Bob, with your background, you can truly appreciate the significance of both making sonic booms and experiencing sonic booms on the ground. So yes, it's an exciting opportunity. And as you said, this aircraft is designed to create a sonic thump and not a boom per se. In fact, your analogy to diving is absolutely spot on. With the very, very long, slender nose of this test aircraft, they have to actually rely on an external vision system, because the pilot's not going to have, the visibility as they would in a traditional cockpit. So it's very, very exciting. And our friends at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works in Palmdale are equally excited to bring this capability to this country. Because I think if we can show that it's possible to build and fly an aircraft that creates a very low sonic boom, it's going to open the opportunity for potential industry to come in and take advantage of that and start up potentially a brand new industry, brand new market.
So I've had a lot of folks ask me, well, what's it like to go supersonic? And the truth is, to a pilot, you can't tell. The only thing that you see is the Mach needle goes past 1.0. Inside the cockpit is just as smooth and quiet as can be. It's only down on the ground that you get those sonic shock waves that cause the boom. Hey, let's talk advanced air mobility. I'm excited about another X-plane that we're building, and it's the Maxwell X-57. And this is an electrified aircraft, totally electric, and also Aeronautics capabilities and emergency response operations. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But I think I got a slide on X-57, if we could put that up. This is a fully electrified aircraft. It's another X-plane that's going to fly this year. The folks out at Armstrong will be getting this going. And it's going to demonstrate technologies of an all-electric aircraft, and what we'll learn from it will pass on to industry so that the community will have all this data, that they understand how to electrify an aircraft and how it can be used. And I think that's another really cool X-plane that's coming forward. Any thoughts on that, Barb? Anything you'd like to add?
No, I mean, you're right. It's another very exciting opportunity to make an impact for this industry. And as you said, we were going from very fast in the X-59 to relatively slow in the X-57. It is an all-electric aircraft, and there is an opportunity here to inform the broader community, the broader both manufacturing and regulatory community on what it takes to electrify an aircraft. What does it mean for the standards and the guidelines around these aircraft? So the chance to influence the community at large is really the big reason for doing this.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's going to be really cool to be flying 2 X-planes in the same year. That's what NASA is all about. And I hope folks have gotten the theme of what we're talking about. This is sustainability and no impact to the environment for both people and our environment. And when I look at aeronautics capabilities for emergency response, this is really cool also. We're integrating UAVs, unmanned vehicles, into the national airspace. And these are actually being used for fighting wildfires and so on. And, you don't want drones flying all over, impacting people that are out there or other aircraft that are out there. So how we take these UAVs and work them into the traffic management system, this is going to be huge as we move forward. So we got to have kind of the rules of the road as we set things up. And we're doing this in close partnership with the Science Mission Directorate, Earth Sciences, other government agencies, and also state and local officials. It's a whole new area, and especially when you start thinking about air taxis and all the other things that we're going to have, how do you integrate all that into the to the national airspace?
Yeah, it is going to be a challenge, but now is the time to be tackling those tough challenges, right? Let me start with the ACERO, the Aeronautics Capabilities for Emergency Response Operations. This is an opportunity to bring to bear advanced NASA aeronautics capabilities, to help those folks that are dealing with, wildfires, both here and in other areas around the world, right? We're bringing the capabilities in and working with that community to understand truly what their needs are and what the technologies can bring to bear in terms of solutions. And you mentioned that we're working very closely with the NASA Science Mission Directorate. Those are the folks that have the data, right? They have the global observation data that can give us insights, in and around, what's going on with those fires. So it's been a real learning process, I think, for all of us to sit down with some of the frontline workers, some of the first responders, and understand really the challenges they face, in fighting wildfires. So that's just been a tremendous opportunity to have an impact. And then as far as creating the rules of the road for advanced air mobility, again, now's the time to do that. Before, it's truly, needed, we have to have these rules established. I think we take for granted, those of us that drive, what those rules of the road are as we're driving, and to recognize that we have to create that, for drones and for advanced air mobility is really pretty eye-watering. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a big new world. A lot is going to change, and we want to make sure that we do it safely.
That's right.
Another mission that I think is really important, and I see aviation as something that really inspires. It inspired me when I was a young boy to want to pursue a field of math and engineering and science, and I know that it still does today when I get out and talk to students. And I think innovation in STEM are really important to NASA. And the work that we do with universities, I think one of the coolest programs is our University Leadership Initiative. And I got a slide on that too, if we can pull it up. But we're talking about, 500 students across 66 universities 9 HBCUs, 14 other minority institutions. We've got 3 females who are principal investigators. We are actually working with universities, graduating students that go out and have jobs at Boeing, within the aero industry, Boeing, NASA, Northrop Grumman, in the communications industry, Qualcomm, and automotive companies. I think this partnership that we have is really neat for the future as we innovate and share and inspire others to go into this field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A little bit ago, we talked about these challenges being big, and we need that next generation workforce to be ready to pick up and continue to make advances as we look into the future. And this University Leadership Initiative is just one opportunity to do so, right? I think what I find most exciting about it is it's not just a single university, but really teams of universities that come together with a diversity of ideas that's stitched together to address a particular problem or a particular challenge. And seeing these universities work together collaboratively, I think is just amazing. And what the other aspect that I think has been very profound is that these students don't just stop, at their own university gates. They get out into the community. They've
Oh,
gotten out to middle schools, they've gotten out to elementary schools and engage with those students, in a way that, is probably a lot more fun than some of
oh,
us older folks.
these university students are actually going out and teaching and working with kids before and after school. It's really cool that they share their enthusiasm with these younger students.
Uh-huh.
But NASA's doing that too. We have our own initiatives working with students and challenges. If I look forward to what we're doing, some of the challenges that we have with students, I go to, it's not just university students, it's the 6th through 12th graders focused on a challenge that's coming up. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We'll come back to some of the university stuff, but I just got, this is exciting to me. Can we throw up that slide on the Dream With Us challenge? So this is for 6th and 12th graders, and we're going to challenge them to envision innovative solutions for real-world aviation challenges. And this year's theme is sustainable aviation, goes along with our conference, right? And it's going to open on March 2nd, and it's going to run through May 15th. And it's really neat to see the ideas that these students come up with. And I think the important thing in all that we do, you can take that slide down. I think one of the important things that we do is we challenge people to think. And that's what NASA is all about. It's about innovation and preparing for the future. So I didn't want to forget that one, Barb. But going back to the university challenges, can you talk a little bit more about some of the STEM initiatives that we have, Barb? We've got so many, and they're so important.
Right. So I mentioned that these university students are reaching out to their community. So I wanted to give a big shout out to the University of Tennessee students, that have been supporting some local middle schools, and then also to the UC Berkeley students that have similarly been out in the elementary schools. So big shout out to those 2 schools in particular. And it's exciting to see the effect that they have. So I'm sure that the students that those universities are working with are going to be good. They're going to be real contributors under this Dream With Us challenge that you just mentioned, Bob. The Dream With Us challenge is a chance for these 6th through 12th graders to pull their ideas and submit them in the form of, any kind of medium, really. I think it's artwork, it's essay, and so forth is accepted. Anything that can convey their vision of the future.
Mhm.
We have another university-based initiative called USRC, or University Student Research Challenge, and this challenge is focused just on the university students themselves, not really on the faculty researchers. It's an opportunity for university students to come together in a small team and pitch an idea, if you will. Pitch it to NASA and get some crowdsourcing funding and be able to prove or disprove, the problem that they are taking on. It's an opportunity to really flex their entrepreneurial muscles and show the world what they can do. So that's really exciting to see. And I think their teams stretch out beyond just the engineering students. They reach out and they bring in, business students and others that can help make that team as productive as possible. So
And I think that's with today's technology. I mean, just like us, we would have been doing this together had a launch not scrubbed, and I ended up staying down here in Florida instead of coming back to Washington. But with today's technologies, on this university challenge, there's a lot of crowdsourcing and stuff that goes on. It's amazing how many people you can work with and how quickly you can bring ideas together with the tools that we have today. I think it's really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's those relationships really, that make these teams so powerful. The relationships that are enabled through both the virtual and the face-to-face opportunities as well.
So, we talked about working with university students and the younger students, 6 through 12, and the challenges that we have out there. What about, there's some 30 live posters. Can you tell me anything about what's going on with these posters that we're doing with university students?
Right. So participants in imaginAviation will have the opportunity to participate in something that's called Gather Town. It is a virtual opportunity where you can connect and talk to researchers, to your colleagues, to learn a little bit more about some of the work that they're doing. You'll have, as you enter the environment, you'll have a little icon that represents yourself, and you can go up and you can interact with colleagues and meet some people virtually, perhaps that you've never met before. But what's so exciting about Gather Town is we're taking advantage of this technology to bring people together in a way, to share information and to learn from each other. So
very
I hope
cool.
people have a chance to do it.
Absolutely. So before we run out of time, I've got to talk about something else that I think is really cool. We've been talking about aeronautics here on Earth, but aeronautics isn't just happening on Earth at NASA. We are flying vehicles on other planets. And I got to talk about our helicopters on Mars. That little Ingenuity helicopter that launched with the Perseverance rover back in 2020, that was being designed. We started the design in 2014. It launched in 2020. And it's been flying all over Mars. We are flying a helicopter on Mars. And I think that is so cool. And it's still flying, and it kind of scouts ahead for the rover. It works so well that we got a mission coming up. It's called the Mars Sample Return Mission. And we are actually, based on what we learned from the Ingenuity helicopter, building another helicopter that's a little bigger, a little more capable, that's going to launch on a mission to Mars and actually be able to pick up samples that the Perseverance rover has laid on the ground on Mars and bring them to a vehicle that's going to bring them back to Earth. And not only that, we're flying on Mars, but we got another mission coming up, Dragonfly. And Dragonfly is going to go to the largest moon of Saturn, Titan. And we're actually going to fly a helicopter on the moon of Saturn. And I think that is so cool. This is NASA's Aeronautics at work, working with the Science Mission Director to really do some cool stuff, Barb.
It is really cool. I mean, I remember when our rotorcraft experts, our aeronautics rotorcraft experts were first approached with this idea of, could a rotorcraft be built to fly on Mars? And, they got engaged and they brought to bear their experience. The design codes that had been developed under NASA Aeronautics, were modified for the Martian atmosphere, and they brought their expertise. And now we have, like you said, Ingenuity that still keeps on going, as well as the planning for Mars sample return, and then also the work Dragonfly that'll be flying on Titan. So all of that is really exciting, and it has its roots, in fundamental and foundational aeronautics research and researchers, which is exciting.
As a fixed wing pilot, I have flown helicopters, but helicopters don't really fly, Barb. They just beat the air into submission.
Exactly. So yeah, and a lot of that, like you said, Bob, came from some very talented in-house folks, that we have here within NASA. So it's exciting to see what our NASA researchers can do alongside our partners and our university friends. So we've got two activities that I was just going to mention real quick. One is our Transformative Tools and Technologies, and that's the foundational physics. That's the foundational tools and knowledge that gets built into our analysis codes that eventually make things like that Mars helicopter feasible. And then the second one is our Convergent Aeronautics Solutions activities. Again, teams of NASA in-house researchers that are given the opportunity to swing for the stars, if you will, and to throw that Hail Mary pass on technologies that have a very high risk of succeeding. So, two other areas where NASA personnel, our very talented NASA personnel, have a chance to really make additional impact. So one thing I did want to come back to real quick is that as you said, the aeronautics flight on other planets, that's going to be the focus of day 3. So aeronautics in space will be highlighted, when folks join us for the day 3 of imaginAviation.
Yep. Barb, thanks so much for allowing me to join you today to share my passion for aviation at NASA and all the exciting things we're doing and helping me kick off imaginAviation. I'm really proud of what you do and what our Aero Mission Directorate does for NASA. The first A in NASA is aeronautics, and it's critical to our future. I couldn't be more pleased with what we've accomplished, and I think we've got an outstanding future going forward.
I agree completely. I'm very excited to be part of this event. I'm very excited to be part of our NASA Aeronautics team.
All right, I think we're about out of time. I think we've covered the gambit, haven't we?
Well, you may be out of your expected time, but we're certainly not out of questions. We have a number of them that have come in the conference IO, and I'd like to tee up a few for some more conversation among you two. So, and again, thank you. That was just a fabulous way to kick this off and to share some thoughts and challenges here. So, you talked technology, vehicles and operation technology. Sustainability was a big part of that. Developing future workforce and the challenges overall of just innovating in this environment. Given all that, any thoughts that you have of what you view as the biggest challenges that are facing the agency and aeronautics in particular? What are those really tall poles that you think we need to be tackling right now?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is, and I think we do a very good job of it. We talked about working with the university students and the futures that they have going out into industry. It's continuing to attract the talent that we need, making sure that we have a good source of engineers, scientists, those in the STEM field, right out in school right now, coming to work for us, and ensuring that we have the funding to accomplish what we want to challenge. I wish I could double the aero budget. There's so many cool things that I'd like to be doing, but I think it's always going to be a challenge. But I believe that NASA motivates. I believe, when we see X-planes flying, people want to be a part of that, and we need to continue to instill that desire in students. When I get out and speak to schools, they are excited. So I know this is a topic that motivates people. I think that's our job. We got to continue to motivate, and by doing the good things we do, we help do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with Bob, John. I think that the biggest challenge that we have is attracting talent. Let's get all of those young folks from all walks of life, all areas of this country, and so forth. Let's get them engaged, because we need that talent. We need the talent now, and we need it, in the future. So that's, to me, the biggest thing we need to be focusing on.
I was reading an article the other day, and one of the best paying jobs right now, right out of university, is an aerospace engineer. I mean, you go down to the Space Coast here in Florida, and you got Northrop Grumman and their whole engineering design team is at Melbourne Airport. You've got all the jobs in the space industry, and there is a real competition for talent right here on the Space Coast right now. So we want to keep cranking out those good engineers.
Yeah.
Right.
So another line of question that's come through. Big part of what the two of you spent some time talking about is the emerging market in aviation, whether it be UAM or electrification or a variety of things that X-57 represents. There's an incredible diversity of aircraft that are being proposed and designed in that particular arena, whether it be the electric vertical takeoff and landing or the enhanced short takeoff and landing, quad, multi-copters, etc. Folks are interested in understanding how you see that market perhaps playing out. I mean, there's a kind of a crystal ball question in there, but the diversity, trying to bring these complex operations, the vehicles into the system, how do you see that in terms of our future, near term, far term? What are your thoughts?
I think
Go ahead, Barb.
No, I think it's all of the above, John. I think that the market will play out both in a near-term way and in a longer-term way. I think in the near term, some of those benefits and missions that are enabled by AAM that are public good, I think we'll see those first, because those will be bringing, value to communities and to larger populations of individuals. And then it'll evolve towards towards the private sector and individual missions and opportunities. Bob?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you look at all the innovations in aviation, almost all of them came from NASA, aero tailoring, winglets. I can go on and on, but that's our job, is to bring these technologies forward and help develop them and make them available to industry. And those that are right are going to be picked up. It took a while. You don't see an airplane now without winglets on it to reduce drag and make it more efficient. I think if we can prove the technology of a truss brace wing or whatever it is that we're going for, these really highly efficient airfoils with, very high aspect ratio, it's really important. Okay, so that's our job, is to develop those technologies. I think the way we're doing it now in partnership with industry is really important. Aviation, aircraft, that's a huge part of our national product, and we want to maintain that leadership for our nation. So helping develop those technologies is going to be crucial as we move forward. And the ones that are right are the ones that are going to survive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that, while this virtual environment is working amazing for imaginAviation, there's no substitute for face-to-face and human direct interaction, right? And so the technologies that Bob's talking about and the market that you talked about, John, those are all ways that we bring people together. We unite families and friends and business associates in a way that no other industry does.
Yeah. Fabulous. One of the last topics that you two bantered back and forth a bit as you were closing out was, aviation off planet. So many exciting opportunities that seem to be cropping up there, Ingenuity and other, vertical lift or helicopter applications. Maybe this is more to Bob, but certainly it's Bob's background too. What do you see as other missions that may be enabled by aviation in our exploration, whether it be Moon, Mars, or other parts of the solar system? How do you see that playing out, perhaps?
Well, first off, I would say that robotic aircraft, robots of any type, are the precursors to humans. What we've learned with the Ingenuity helicopter on Mars is that we can get information much more quickly, sending it out and scouting ahead before they plan the route for the Perseverance rover. I think it's going to enable us to be more efficient in our exploration of these bodies, but the whole purpose is to gain knowledge for the day that we send humans forward too. So it's just a more efficient way. Anytime you can get something higher and faster to survey out and head, it's much better than the slow motion of being down on the ground. Just think if Lewis and Clark would have had a rover, airborne rover, going out in front of them when they went out in the Northwest Passage. How much easier would it have been to find the right route as they were moving forward? So that's what we're doing on other bodies with our helicopters.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Bob, you spoke with a little twinkle in your eye when you were talking about getting in the simulator for the X-59. Certainly from age 5, wanting to be a pilot. So there were a couple of questions that have come in. One, how did the airplane fly? And actually, how well did the pilot do in that simulator?
All right. So as a test pilot, when you evaluate the handling qualities of an aircraft, we have what's called the Cooper-Harper scale. And it lays out 3 levels of handling qualities. And level 1 is 1, 2, and 3 are the grades that you assign to it. And that means it's good. You don't have to fix it. and I was evaluating the X-59 in the approach and land phase. This airplane, you can't see out the windows in front of you. It's really cool. It's got a virtual display, essentially a TV in front of you that shows the runway. You can see out the sides and up, but you can't see forward. So it uses cameras for that. And I evaluated it in approach and land phase, and I hit desired performance as far as the touchdown parameters that I was trying to get. So anytime you got desired performance, that says it's level 1 handling qualities. And I gave it an HQR handling qualities rating of 3 in approach and land, which means that, it's good, but there's room for improvement. I'll be honest, had I been evaluating it for any pilot out in the fleet, I'd have probably made it a level 5 and worked on it a little bit more, but I know only test pilots are going to be flying it. So I didn't get to fly it supersonic, but
Okay.
it was fun flying the simulator and the landing.
Oh, great. Thanks for sharing that. So it's a couple of quick questions. This might be, short form answers as we're coming up against the end of the time here. But what is your favorite thing, and this for both of you, about working for NASA?
I'll let you go first, Barb.
Thanks, Bob. I think that my favorite thing is the sense of being part of something that's much bigger than myself. Part of a much bigger sense of purpose, both on behalf of the industry as a collective whole. I think that's the best part, because it's through that participation in that much bigger picture that we can make an impact and change the future working together. So that's my biggest thing, is being part of that, effort that is much, much larger than just myself.
Yeah, I totally agree, Barb. NASA's been number 1 on the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey 10 years in a row. And why is that? And I think it's a couple reasons. I think it's, first off, we have what we call the NASA family. It's how we take care of our people. Mm-hmm. And that is really important. We truly are a family. I just absolutely love the people that I get to work with. They're so motivated and dedicated to what we do. And the other part is, the reason I think we're number 1 is we have a meaningful mission. When you go home at night, you didn't make a difference for your home state or the United States. You're making a difference for humanity. I don't care what it is across the board. In our exploration, in aviation, it's a meaningful mission. And to be able to be part of that, having a meaningful mission, and get to work with the people that we get to work with, challenging and fun and exciting, I just can't imagine any place. I'm really old, but I don't want to quit yet. I'm having too much fun.
I love that answer. Yeah, I feel you, Bob. So our last question, as we're coming up against, again, the last couple of minutes here. We talked a lot, you talked a lot about the value of outreach to the youngest members of our community, our students, even middle school and younger. If you were to have a bit of sage advice for the young students coming up today, what might that be?
Can I take this one, Barb?
Go for it, and I'll pile on.
So I would say, try everything. Don't let somebody tell you can't do it. I don't care who you are. If you're motivated and want to be a part of it, give it a try. You don't know if you're going to be able to like it or succeed unless you give it a try. You have to decide what you want to do. Find out what you're passionate about and go for it. And if you don't get it on the first try, don't give up. I didn't get into pilot training, test pilot school, or the astronaut program on the first try, but I persisted and I worked really hard at what I did. And the other thing I would say is always do your very best at whatever you do. Don't shortchange yourself. Study hard, work hard, do well, and things have a way of working out. But you need to find out what motivates you, what you're passionate about, and then go for it. Now I got to qualify that a little bit. You might want to be the next American Idol. And if you can't carry a tune, it's not going to work out. Okay. So you got to have a little bit of talent in what you're doing also to be able to succeed. But I think hard work pays off. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
Bob's exactly right. The only thing I would add is frosting is just stay curious. Be curious of the world around you. Be curious of how things work, why they work, and let that curiosity lead you to your passions. That's how you're going to find them, and then grab onto them with two fists, as Bob just said. So
Yeah, don't ever stop learning.
that's right.
It doesn't matter how old you are, and don't ever stop trying to do new things. I love a new challenge even now.
Exactly.
Bob and Barb, this was just a tremendous way to kick off our this year's imaginAviation. Let me just thank you so much for helping us do that, sharing your passions, your interests, your perspectives. Really appreciate it. And again, this has just been the best way to start this voyage that we're on. So thank you very much, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks
Thank you.
for having us,
Bye
John.
now.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks, Barb.
It was lots of fun. Take care,
Yep.
everyone.